So now that you have your research guidance sheet in front of you, in the center of your sheet, in this black circle, you're going to put the book that you are studying to create your room or your home from, and or the time period in which that takes place. So in this example, I'm going to go through the Diary of Anne Frank, and so I'll be focusing on the time period of World War II. Once you've put your title inside of that black circle or what you're going to be doing research on, the thing you want to look at next is you're going to be doing research on common household items or items that would characterize the home. The interior elements of the home, so that could be how big the rooms were, or what type of refrigerators that they would have had if it's a different time period. And then looking at the exterior elements of the home also to decide if it looks different from what our houses look like today, especially if it is a different time period, or if it's in a different location than Minnesota, or if you're doing something with Native American tribes, if they live in a different type of structure. Those are all different possibilities. So as you're going through your research, you're going to be filling in these bubbles and keeping those things in mind. And then this last bubble is for additional information that you may or may not want to include. So the first place we're going to go look is this elmforyou.org. I'll put a link to it in the side, but the first thing I want to look at is you have these options of different things you can target your research for that'll give you additional databases to look through. So I'm going to go to the history and social studies aspect. If you're doing something more along the lines of a text, then such as the Birchbark House, or Tom Sawyer, Adventures of Tom Sawyer, or The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, then you might want to look at language arts and literature and consider that also. But since I know I'm going to be studying World War II, I'm going to look in this area. So then it gives you a variety of databases that you can pull from. You could look into the Britannica. They have some really great resources, and so when I pulled up that one, I'm going to select middle school, and I'm going to type in Anne Frank House. And then there's a couple of different options. I can look through articles about her, images about that contain Anne Frank. You'll see that not all of them are specific to that house that she grew up in. And so to expand my search further, I might put quotations around it, because that will ensure that I'm only researching things that are within those quotations. It has to have all those words next to each other. So I didn't find anything directly from that, didn't give me additional information. So I might end up having to go look in other areas, but I'm going to peruse and see what else I found. So I did come up with this video. And this came up directly with the words Anne Frank House next to each other that I wanted. And so videos are a great resource to actually get to see what some of those things may have looked like. So I would definitely consider using that resource. You can also look at primary resources. So going back to either this, it didn't turn up any results as seen here, but if I take away those quotation marks, it may show us a little bit more information. Yep, so this one gives me a lot of different results. So that is one option of a place to look. Make sure that you answer the next question before moving on to the next part of the video. Another thing you might consider when doing your research is adding a plus sign to include additional information with the word room. So this is going to adding that plus sign is going to give you additional information about the Anne Frank house, but specifically a room. So if we pull up information now, it says we get some of the same ones, but then we also have some images. And this is the secrets of Anne's room, and this is from that same website but in a different area. Again, how they conserved her room. There's a ground plan of Anne Frank's secret annex, so that would be really interesting because that would give me a good picture of what it looked like. So here's an overall picture of it, all things that I would want to consider. This is also gives me an opportunity to look at the things that they may have had inside of their home during the time, and that would be things I would want to include in my research as well. Make sure as you're going through this that you are adding all of your resources to the back side of your sheet, so you're copying down where you got the resources from so you're able to cite those later. Another thing that you might want to look at, and I'll give you a sheet to go with this, is some different shortcuts. So it'll say like Nokia phone. This is giving you that it's going to look up both of those words. Putting the word or will allow it to be your search to be less specific. We talked about putting them in quotations. Similar to having that addition sign, it will include things after the addition sign. You can also put a minus sign and it will remove everything related to those words after your search or in your search. So when I go back to this Elm4U database, I have some other ones that I'm going to look through. If I am doing research on a home in Minnesota, I might go through this historical Minnesota Tribune, which is some newspaper articles from 1867 to 1922. So that may show you some great insights as to what things look like during that time, whether that is those home elements or it could be what the house actually looked like. So there's a lot of different options here that you can peruse through. Another option would be just going to Google. So again, going with that theme of doing the Anne Frank house. And I found that this first one is just about tickets to go see it. So it tells me that it is still open and it's something that you can go tour. But this one is the actual museum, and there's an opportunity to see the secret annex online. So I'm going to go look at what information that will give me. So this gives me more information about why she went into hiding, but this I can actually go inside of the tour. So this gives me some additional information about how to actually use it, give some listening information. So this is just how to use the tool. But when I go in and look,
this is the area between the main house and the secret annex.
So it's giving me information, as you could hear there, about where she is and what this area of the annex is and how to actually utilize this area. And it talks about the movable bookcase. It's a little bit of a struggle to play with, but it's okay. Learning experience. So this is going to open it up, and this would have been the door. So as you can see, this is like more of a first-hand experience of getting to see what it actually looked like, where they were staying, and so I can use this as a resource for designing the floor plan and the layout of the Anne Frank home as well. So now that you know a little bit more about research and key terms that you can use, as well as little shortcuts to make your research more targeted, go ahead and do some research around your topic and record that in your research guidance sheet.